Good morning. Welcome to episode 3 of Scott and Sam in the AM. Scott, how's it going?
Good morning, Samuel.
Any big plans today, this week, this month?
Well, you're having a kid next week, so I would say
I'm having
that's
a kid
pretty
next week.
big. Oh, it's Easter. I'm flying up to New York. I know we were supposed to hang out, but it's a little too much. So putting the kid on the plane, 6 months now, and sleeping through the night, sleeping on his stomach, which is cool. Flips himself over. I wasn't sure if that's okay, but it is. We talked to the doctor, and a friend from high school is coming down tomorrow to go out to dinner for Thursday. So I'm pretty stoked about that, man. But that's about it in the personal life.
Well, my personal life, for number one, I thought I was your best friend. Number two, I buzzed my 2-year-old son's head. Now he looks like 11 from Stranger Things. All right, I want to get into a bunch of real estate topics this week: fitness, health, you name it. I am slightly freaking out because New York Post posted an article last week saying that Google searches for help with my mortgage and similar phrases are the highest that they've been since '08. Now, I'm an article reader, not just a headline grab. I'm an article reader, and it did go into saying, now, defaults are not nearly where they were heading into '08, but delinquencies are extremely high, especially serious delinquencies, 3 to 4 months. Now, given the business that we're in, unfortunately, we see this, kind of commonplace. But now that it's hitting a national scale, what's your thoughts?
I think it has been hitting a national scale. I don't think this is new. I saw this same headline 6 months ago. People saying Google, sell my house fast, stuff like that. That is trending upwards in the last year. But that all being said, I think we've been on an upturn for quite a while. And in a lot of markets, it's still, in your market, it's still an upturn. But, you're going to see some softening. I think it's been like that in the last 12 months. But unfortunately, this is kind of the cycle. I think people bought high, and now people want to get out, and they can't. That's the problem. They paid a little too much, even if they got a good interest rate. I don't know, man. I hope it's not a problem, but I also don't think it's going to be like anything like 2008. We talked about this before that
Agreed. Yeah, agreed.
2008 was subprime was the, more or less the cause of that, and which, essentially meant that people were getting loans that shouldn't have gotten loans. And that's not the case right now. It's just as strict as it has been after 2008. Well, maybe not that strict, but it's still strict, and you need to prove your income and you need to have a decent credit score when before you just really needed a pulse. So these people who have loans, a lot of them deserve to have them. And I don't think that you're going to see nearly the default and delinquency that we did, unless something catastrophic changes with AI would be like just a wave of layoffs, which you are seeing that. You are seeing that. I was listening to a podcast, and they were talking about how the CEO was talking about how they had 30,000 jobs, and now they have half that amount of jobs. And they are running with a higher profit margin. And it's not that they laid anybody off. They just said by natural attrition, people leave, and they were just not backfilling their space because they didn't have to because of AI. So it doesn't make a headline. Wow. because people aren't just getting laid off. But what happens is there's that many less jobs in the marketplace. And eventually we're going to need to see some, universal basic income.
If ChatGPT starts providing best friends, I am shit out of luck. I think, I agree with what you said in terms of it's not necessarily that these people shouldn't have gotten the loan, but what you can't control is the monthly expenses that they add onto their balance sheet before or after the fact. We see it more than I just saw it a couple months ago where I met these sellers and they were underwater every which way. The house, the car payments, everything you can think of. And their house was worth a decent chunk of change. The problem was that they've remortgaged it 3 times and they are just up to their neck in so much debt. But they had a brand new Ford Expedition in the driveway and a Mercedes. And that is more commonplace than the person who is 3 months delinquent on their mortgage and has the paid off Honda Accord. So, I'm not saying people go through tough times for sure. There's also some people who put themselves in tough times. And if you're going to be taking on debt, but you go through the Instagram algorithm all the time of realtors, lenders especially, and they seem to have this formula of if you want to buy a $250,000 house, then you need to make $70,000 a year. And then it goes up to $1 million house and $250,000 of income. The fact of the matter is there is no black and white of how much you need to make to be able to afford anything. It all depends on what your liabilities are and what your goals are. Like, I feel the greatest when I am spending way less than what I need to spend and just not adding unnecessary expenses to my balance sheet so that I have more cash to do the things I want to do, which right now is we're buying, more real estate than Berkshire Hathaway. But that's just my goal, short term for right now. In 3 years from now, it might not be the case. And, maybe I add more liabilities to my balance sheet. But if I didn't want to buy real estate, if I was just working a regular job and putting a little money away for savings, or even not putting money away for savings and having a great old time, that's okay too. You just got to be realistic with yourself.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're talking to entrepreneurial people who want to build more than just a W-2 job. I think that's, most of our people who follow us on Instagram, that's what they're looking for, even if they don't do it right now. And I'm going to say something. If you have $100,000 saved, you should get your $100,000 out of your account and put it into a real estate deal. And let me explain why. When you have $100,000 in your bank account and you feel pretty good, right? You're like, okay, like I can buy the thing that I maybe didn't buy before. I could take the trip. I could do this. I could do that. And I think that it's just a lot of willpower to be like, I'm not spending $1. And you might hold on for 3-6 months, whatever, cool. But then it's just like this wealth effect. Maybe not 100. Maybe there's like a couple hundred is like the wealth effect where you feel like you're like, it's cool. I can order out. I can go to these dinners. But I think what's helped, at least myself, is I always push the envelope and put the money back into another deal. And I always, I could comfortably pay my bills and I had, money stocked away and stuff like that. But it always made me feel a little more uncomfortable. And I always felt more broke than I actually was. And I think that's a good thing, especially when you're growing, right? So you're forced to not have to buy other shit because you're putting your money into real estate. And I was constantly spending, and I think that's what we do now. And it's important and it's more exciting to do that. And then eventually go out and buy the thing, the car, the watch, but you have to do that shit first. You have to. Don't make a bunch of money in 1 year and be like, I'm balling. I see it all the time because you might not do it again next year. If you're not a surgeon, there's a good chance you won't. So I think that's, it's okay to buy the stuff, but spend it on assets first.
Yeah, I would say
let the assets pay for the other shit.
I would say even take it a step further back than that, and we live this in real time. It's very easy to be like, oh, I have a 6-month emergency fund, or if I don't make $1 for the next year, all my bills are paid. The fact of the matter is, if you don't make $1 for the next year and you deplete that entire fund, something went seriously wrong, or you're doing something seriously wrong. And we live that. We both made a conscious decision in our business a few years ago to commit to changing the deals we were going after and go after really big deals. And we didn't make $1 for 6 or 7 months. And the money kept being spent out of the business account. But you still got to live your life. You still have bills, mortgage, lifestyle. It goes so quick. And that just taught me, and I'll never do this again. You have to make money first. Even if it's $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 a month, whatever supports your lifestyle. Everyone's different. You get that money first and you keep it coming in every month. And then you use the business funds on top of it to invest, to grow, to scale, whatever. But anything short of that is just a gamble. And that's exactly what we did. And essentially what we tried to do was wholesale huge 8-figure type assets. And we actually locked a couple up and we were diving into them and we couldn't move them. It was just more than we could bite off at the time. I just, I don't look at it as a negative thing at this point, but it really depleted my cash to the point where on my personal cash on hand, I was stressed out, and that's no way to live. You can't live that way, especially when you're self-employed. If you're personally, financially stressed when you're self-employed, every decision that you make is going to be to make money right now because you need it. And that's not the way to operate. It's not the way to create wealth or success in any way. Taking a few years to build up and build reserves and learn, most importantly, now we've kind of crossed over a small threshold where we can operate for future money. It makes life so much more enjoyable, and we're getting some bites of some way bigger apples now.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a difference between having 12 months reserves in your business account and your personal account, because you might have 12 months saved for yourself, but if you're contributing to your business, it could burn it in 2 months, right? Like you're spending $50,000 a month to operate a business that's making 30, like the money goes a lot faster than your personal life. So yeah, part of it, it's, that's why I buy more real estate. As you make the money, buy the real estate, don't buy the shit. not yet, because when those days come, and they will, you need to have something to fall back on. And that's what got us through.
You had broke down the other day a really good idea and just structure for people who are just looking to get into real estate. People who have a little bit of money saved aside, or they're willing to work and save up some money. Break that down. What would you do if you were 22, 23 years old, or 29, 30 years old? There's no bad age to start. And you want to get into real estate with your first property.
Right. So I'm going to go off my experience, and I tell my friends and family this all the time, and only a few of them will actually take me up on this. But what I suggest, if you want to be in real estate and you want to be a millionaire, like, let's just use that as an example. I think the easiest and most sure way to do this in the next 10 years is to buy essentially 5 properties in the next 10 years. So 1 property every 2 years, okay? But you start off with the first property being a multifamily, either 2, 3, or 4 units, because you can use your FHA loan to buy this, which means you need to live in one of the units and you can rent the other ones out. If you live in a very expensive area, let's say your duplexes are $800, $900, $1 million. Let's just use a duplex for an example. It's not lost on me that 3.5% is still $35,000 plus closing costs. It's a lot of money, right? I didn't have that when I first bought my property. The first duplex I ever bought was $385,000, and I put 3.5% down. Now, if you're really ambitious, and you should do this anyways because there's some tax benefits of being a real estate professional, but you should go out and get your real estate license, because now you can go and offer on the property and put your commission at 3%, which means you're only buying the property for 0.5%, right? So let's say you buy the property, a duplex wherever you live or close to where you live. I think that works out to be 0.5% is like $2,500. Hopefully you can save up a little bit more than $2,500. Buy something that needs some work. And what I mean by that is just paint, landscaping, maybe a new kitchen and bathroom, something like that. So you can manage the project and hopefully increase the value of that property. It doesn't have to be the best deal in the world, but you need to be able to do some improvements. And then the other important part is you're going to have a tenant who's living next to you. So you get to manage that tenant while you're managing a construction project, all under one roof where you live. So you're kind of knocking out a bunch of birds with one stone, and you're getting the experience of doing this with your very first property. Now, all the money that you save because your tenant's paying your mortgage, hopefully you're saving that money so you can go out and do this again in the next 2 years. But the most important thing is don't sell the property. Hopefully you can just live in it and buy your next property and then buy one more. But if you have to move around, that's okay too. But just don't sell it. And if you don't sell it, I can almost guarantee in the next 10 years you'll be worth more than $1 million in equity as long as you continue down that road. And if you're 25 years old, you will be a millionaire by 35. And you have your whole life ahead of you with all the experience that 5 properties taught you. And hopefully you can parlay those properties into much larger deals. And that's pretty much the course of my personal life. That's why I can speak to this. I'm not telling you to do something I didn't do, but that's exactly what I did. And it helped me. It set me up to be able to weather storms and also just invest in things that I wanted to do now that I couldn't do when I first started.
Yeah, to give you the 2 sides of the scale, while Scott was doing that, I was working a W-2 job throughout my 20s and doing pretty well. But I wasn't doing that. I was either spending the money, putting it into a 401k, whatever, you name it. And then when we have a business together and we don't make money for 6 months, one of us is dying inside and the other one's living off of some rental income. It makes a big difference. And if you wonder, I know when I was at that point in my life, I had like this weird irrational fear of not being able to get debt, like getting denied for a loan or not having enough money. The fact of the matter is most people, ourselves included, are not stroking the checks for properties and then having a ton of cash left over. It's a big deal to buy any piece of real estate. And if that means it really depletes your cash and only leaves you with a couple of months of reserves or 1 month of reserve, that's normal. Like every time I've bought a primary house to live in, that's pretty much where it leaves me. And when we buy investment properties, we're constantly having to turn over deals to be able to buy more. That's just the game. And you make small incremental net worth increases, not even by flipping, but by buying the assets that you hold long term, like Scott's saying. And remember, you are taking on 96% of the value in debt. And just because you're putting 3.5% down, you're not getting a 3.5% interest rate. You're paying right now 6-7% on 96%, 97% of the value of the piece of property in debt. And you're paying 30%, 40% of that interest in those first 5 or 6 years. So you got to be committed to not necessarily living there forever, but holding it for a long amount of time so that your rents can start knocking down that principal, and you combine that knockdown of principal with natural appreciation. That's how you create that net worth he's talking about. But excellent idea about the FHA. I wish you told me that before. FHA loan, 3.5% down, plus get your license, get a 3% commission. Now your liquidity only decreases by 0.5%. And you pick up the property. Good idea.
Back then we were probably talking a couple times a week, so I must have said it.
I wasn't listening.
Sorry, dude.
It's too busy maxing out my 401k. Where's that got me?
You still have a 401k? You cashed it?
No, I still have it.
Okay.
I don't really contribute at this point right now. I very little. I prioritize contributing to like things like my children's education. I spend a ton now on health insurance. Just signed up for life insurance. That'll be another one.
Yeah.
I'm just not at that point in my life. The way I look at it is I'm 33. Scott is the spring chicken of 32 until August. But you can't do it all. Like, I can't physically buy the amount of real estate that we're buying a property a week. This week we're going to buy 2 properties. Last week we bought 1. And I can't physically, financially keep up with that. My end, I look at it as I have a partner. So we're putting up half the money each. I can't do anything other than prioritize that. When I'm going throughout my life, I got to have the cash ready. Even that means I don't get the car I want, or I don't contribute to the 401k like I wanted to. That comes first, because that is what feeds everything else behind it. So it's 90% real estate, 8% living, 2% small savings funds. But like, I don't know. I'm not really sweating about it right now, mostly because there's no other option. Like, I can't. I would have to drastically increase my earned income.
I wouldn't worry about it, man.
Yeah, I've talked to financial planners about this and just got their opinion. And, sometimes you have the very old school conservative guys who say you got to be putting an X percentage toward savings or retirement or whatever. What I have just learned over the years is that if you have solid active income and you are taking the active income and buying assets with it that give you tax benefits and appreciation and cash flow and all that, although I'm still convinced cash flow is a myth, you're just going to get a lot further than you will by playing it super safe and saving. I've saved way more cash on hand over the last year by being aggressive and putting my money back into more projects, not putting it into anything that is increasing my monthly liabilities. Therefore, I had the money than I would have if I just played it safe and stocked away X amount every month. There is no one size fits all. I'm just going, and I might change my tune in a year from now drastically, or 5 years from now. But for right now, given my age, my occupation, and my current income, that's my plan. Buy as much real estate as I can, turn it over as much as I can, and live below my means.
Yeah, it's a good plan. I mean, for anyone out there who's trying to build wealth is built like this. It's like this pretty much the majority of your life, and then it hockey sticks up if you did the right thing, right? It's never like that. So whether you're saving money, whether you're investing in real estate, whatever you're doing, pick your lane, choose it, and don't let up. Start early. If you can start early, you get a hell of a lot further. It's time. Like, you just need time.
And if I remember Scott and I having calls so this must have been 2016 when I was living in Florida, he's living in Maryland, and we would talk and we would write down our goals of like what we wanted over the next 10, 15 years. And if I wrote down those same goals right now, like, they would be so different. I think I wrote down that I wanted like a Maserati Ghibli. I don't even know if they make those anymore, but I used to love those cars. I don't want a Maserati Ghibli at this point in my life. I would love a Lexus GX 550. Well, then maybe I could get one on a good deal. But obviously, nothing can teach you experience and perspective. Like, I have had some downs financially, emotionally. Everyone has. It takes time to get it. It's just the hope that you could reach that one 22 or 23-year-old who is naive enough and does it anyway. There's a million people saying start early, start early, start early. But if you actually do it, take it from the guys who are actually doing it right now. And we're 32, 33 years old. And we're telling you start early. I'm telling you, as the guy who didn't start early, who's partners with the guy who started early, start early.
Yeah, I think a lot of it will come down to your childhood too. What did you see? What did you deal with? Stuff like that is going to, make you prioritize it. I don't know, we don't have to get into our personal lives, but at the same time, I think we've both prioritized it more than a lot of people do. And you kind of have to, if that's the route you want to go. And if you don't really care, then, mazel tov. Just live your life. It's all good.
Mazel tov. On Easter weekend, mazel tov. All right, that's enough real estate for today. I want to get into a couple fitness and health topics. Number one, for those of you who don't know, if you don't follow us at Scott and Sam Real Estate on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. But on Instagram this morning, I posted me on my morning run, flexing, looking like the man. But I'm currently training for a 50-mile ultra marathon. I've ran 2 marathons in my life. I did a 70-mile half Ironman, but I've never done an ultra marathon before. And I'm kind of at that midlife crisis point in my life where I see a lot of physical goals that I've always told myself I want to do. And I recognize that I'm getting toward the point of my life that I need to do them soon before I get too old. So this is number one, 50-miler. I think I'm running it I have to look at a training schedule, like plus or minus like 5 months from now, this fall. And my plan is honestly not even sign up for a race or anything. I'm just going to run up and down the Schuylkill Trail in Philadelphia. It's like a 15, 20-mile trail if you go the whole thing. I'm just going to run up and down it like 2 or 3 times and until I hit 50 miles.
Dude, I think you got to sign up, bro. You got to sign up for an actual race. How will we ever know if you
it
actually
costs
did
money.
it?
I got to go somewhere like Strava.
So
Shout out Strava. Use Strava. The Strava app. I've used a lot of running apps in my life. Scott, I'm reading an ad here. We are not sponsored by Strava, but you should sponsor us. Use Strava. It's a great running app. I've used a lot of other running apps in my life. Strava is my favorite. How's that for an ad, Strava? What do you think? We'll do it for free. Just send us some gear. But there's a lot. I want to bench 315. I want to bench 315, which is, I know, a stretch for a guy who's barely getting up 225 on Instagram last week.
You got that was the first time ever doing 225 though.
No. Okay. All right. No. It was my first time doing it in a while. I've stopped doing. It was not my first time getting 225. I've gotten, I think, 235 before for 1 rep max. Maybe 245. I have to look at notes on my phone.
No.
I'll do it right now.
No way.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Listen, I got that up clean. And everyone knows if you just arch your back, shout out Joe DePaula, that adds another 20 pounds. PR lifts. Okay, my max.
Do another 20
on my birthday. Yeah, if you arch your back. That's a fact.
It allows
on my
you
birthday
to do 20
last
pounds,
year.
not adds 20 pounds, dummy. Because it puts it in a decline position because you can lift more on a decline bench. Anyways, go ahead. What was your 1 rep max?
I did 220 on March 24th, 2025. And then I did it again last week. So I pretty much stayed stagnant for a year and a half. Not great. Pull-ups, my max in one session, 25. And then my max deadlift was probably what I posted on Instagram. That was 365, 375.
Yeah.
385, 405.
Yeah, that's good, man. That's good.
So I'm just setting these as my baseline. In a year from now, I need to be in the 1,000-pound club. I've run a 50-mile ultra marathon, and I don't know. I'll keep going out from there. Get some.
You want to bench 315, dude?
315.
Get on some
315. Mr. 315. Yeah, I'm waiting for you to get them, and then I'll try them out.
I will.
Similar to the BMW and the Tesla.
Yes, which you've regretted both.
Hopefully my peptides don't depreciate as much as my Tesla did. All right, Scott. If someone has 30 minutes a day, just the average Joe or Jane has 30 minutes a day, no gym, no nothing, just at home, working from home, and they want to be not in okay shape. I want to get in great shape. How would you spend those 30 minutes a day? I know my answer, but what's yours?
Oh, I would just do the basics. If I have no gym, no weights, no nothing, I'm doing, I was doing it this morning, is push-ups 5 seconds down, 5 seconds up. And then, do they have a pull-up bar? I was doing pull-ups 5 seconds down, 5 seconds up. And then same thing with squats. And then do some crunches and leg raises, and you'll be good to go. Maybe walking lunges.
I do think it is
instead of squats.
To actually get stronger, therefore also in better shape, you have to focus on the negative of lifts. You kind of reminded me of this when I dropped the bar on my deadlift last week. I forgot how important that is. I would say,
what would you do?
I think it costs $70 a year. I'm buying Insanity, and I'm doing Insanity for 30 minutes a day. You'll be shredded 90 days. I've never been like a fat kid in my life, but I know fat kids or people who were fat kids and then got into Insanity religiously, and they all got shredded. Firmly believe. Shout out Sean T. Wonder what he's up to these days. Probably living off Insanity residuals.
Oh, yeah, that was a big deal.
What do you feel like being fit long term benefits you? You're getting a little older now. You're slowing down. Your testosterone might be diving low. Okay. But what do you say? Sorry. I'm saying, what do you feel like you're one of the very, very few people that I know who never really truly got out of shape. The day my son was born, a little over 2 years ago, I was 218 pounds. If you know me, I'm not meant to be 218 pounds. I'm like 6'2", but it wasn't a good 218 pounds. Today, I'm probably 193. There shouldn't be a 25, 30 pound difference there. And, I know other people who have gotten in terrible shape in our age to the point where I don't know how they're ever going to recover from it. But what do you feel like the benefits are long term for just always staying in shape?
I mean, the benefits, I would like to think just my straight up health span, the chances of me getting sick hopefully is lower. And I was listening to someone talk about, nutrition is 99% of it. Like your body's constantly reproducing itself all the time. And whatever you give it, that's the building blocks, period. So like if you give it shitty food, like if you're drinking alcohol all the time, that's what it has to rebuild itself. And
shout out no alcohol. There we go. You're coming along.
It's not about no alcohol. It's not about never eating bad food. Like you said, like I'm able to remain consistent because I don't kill myself every day. Like if I don't feel like working out because I'm a little drained, I won't. That's okay. But for the most part, I'm working out 4 or 5 times a week, going on long walks with my wife, like that. And then nutrition is everything. That's the number one thing that I think people miss, or I don't know what it is, man. People don't want to eat healthy. Like, I don't get it. Like they just love shitty food. Look, eating is a weird thing because it's one of those things that like, if you're addicted to food, addicted to bad things, you still have to eat, right? Like it's like if you're addicted to alcohol, you can stop drinking alcohol forever. But if you're addicted to food for whatever it is, you have to still eat. So it's a weird psychological thing in people's brains that, if you don't build the habits early, it becomes very difficult. And I think a lot of people, their bodies can handle shitty food when they're younger and metabolisms are really high. They burn everything off. They look great even if they eat fucking pizza every day. Doesn't matter. And then when that catches up to them, they haven't built the habit yet. You just have to build the habit. That's all it comes down to. Or don't. If you don't care, all good. But if you want to be in better shape, you want to feel good, you want to have energy, like all the stuff that we do every day, like I need energy to do it, Mm-hmm. And that's not to mention sleep and sauna and ice bath and all that other good stuff, but that's just add-ons.
I would say my average work day, my diet pretty much looks like this. I'm waking up in the morning, full glass of water, a hefty shot of apple cider vinegar, half a lemon squeezed, and then a scoop of the Relight electrolytes. I have found since taking those electrolytes, I am just so less thirsty throughout my day. Like, me, I used to chug so much water all day, always thirsty.
That's not good.
I started taking electrolytes, and now whatever gets satiated longer in my body. But I do that to start my day. I originally started that because I have always had liver issues. I'm not a drinker. You guys have heard me talk about not drinking on the podcast. I just have whatever genetic issue that my liver enzymes are always high, and it helps just get my bowels moving, the right acid in my stomach in the morning, gets me burping and farting and moving as I go throughout the house, makes me feel good. And then I'll go work out, usually with pretty good intensity, especially right now with the running. Come home, eat some sort of very high protein breakfast, like 4 or 5 whole eggs, mozzarella cheese. I don't eat anything like with nitrates anymore, like no more, because of my liver stuff, no bacon, none of that like processed frozen sausage. That stuff is so bad for you. I even try to stay away now from synthetic protein. Like if I'm really hungry or on the go, I will, but I'm trying to get as much as I can. And then in that omelet, I'm just throwing in whatever meat we had the night before, chicken, steak, whatever. I'm pretty easy with that stuff. My issue I run into is I can get very tied up throughout our work day, whether I'm in the car going to different projects. We get tied up with stuff like this, and I end up not eating throughout the day or just drinking too much coffee, which also doesn't make you feel good, to the point where I go home, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this, and I'm just eating everything in sight when I go home and then eating way too close to when I go to bed. I feel the best when I don't eat at all within like 2 hours plus of going to bed, and then I wake up on an empty stomach. I feel very good and flushed out. That's how I feel the best. But and now I have a pregnant wife. I have a 2-year-old son. We're just not going to cook every night. I'm the world's worst cook, and my wife is just not in the shape to cook anymore. So I'm constantly picking up food ordering out, things like that. And I have just noticed a huge difference in the way I feel and the way my body processes it by only going to places that don't cook in seed oils and cook in tallow or something like that. So my go-tos are Kava, Sweetgreen, and if I want something, quote unquote cheap meal, Five Guys lettuce wrap burgers. And it costs a lot of money. Like I'm not walking out of there for less than $40 at any of those places. Five Guys, I probably spend closer to $60 because your boy's getting at minimum 2 double cheeseburgers with grilled onions and mushrooms on the lettuce wraps. Those are like $15 each. Plus my wife, wants her food. I might get a third double cheeseburger or 2 triples. Two triples is probably more realistic. 2 triples. 2 triples. What's the difference? I mean, I'll do it live on the pod next week. But that's pretty much the breakdown of what I'm eating on a daily basis. I try to think about how I could improve it. The fact of the matter is I don't enjoy cooking. I don't enjoy meal prepping. I'm not good at either. So short of me getting enough money to start getting a chef, this might be as good as I get.
Yeah, no, that's funny. I can't eat that type of stuff all the time, but I love cooking. I cook every night. I love it. I think it's so therapeutic, dude. Like in a second life or like the second half of my life when I no longer need money, I will be, I might start like a restaurant or something like that. I love it. I love throwing on like a podcast or some music, glass of wine. It's the best, dude. Absolute best.
It's common to have.
And that's the other part about alcohol. You say no alcohol, but
in the restaurant business,
you don't enjoy, you don't enjoy alcohol. So there's no wonder why you don't drink it. But like enjoying it with your food or something like that, I think there's, I think there's a lot of benefit to that. Doing stuff I enjoy.
Benefit. I'm not going to get into this again. All right, last topic I want to cover today.
It's a benefit to me.
You enjoy it.
What is that? I enjoy it and it benefits me. Yes.
Who's on first?
Yes.
All right. Last thing I want to touch on today. We had a question of how do you stay consistent when motivation comes and goes? And I'm not going to get into like the David Goggins age old of what is it like motivation comes and goes but consistency stays forever or something like that. I think the fact of the matter is you have to like what you're doing every day. If you genuinely really like what you're doing every day, number one, it's not going to feel like work. That is true. Number two, the days are going to fucking fly. I've never felt like my life is moving faster than it does right now. I feel like every week I look up and it's Thursday night and we have 1 day left. I think a lot of that is because we're finally at the point now where we can do more of what we want to do rather than what we have to do. But I can't really say that I've experienced that before, like losing. I've always been a pretty self-motivated guy, maybe too much. But if you're waking up every day and you don't have that motivation and you're just slogging it through your life, like Scott made a really good video about this a couple weeks ago. If you hate your job and it's causing you to therefore be bad at your job or be rude or mean to other people while at your job, just get another job. That's the great reason. It's a job. It's not indentured servitude. No one's forcing you to be there. And in all likelihood, if you really hate your job that much, you can probably get another job of very similar compensation that you enjoy. Now, if you're a rocket scientist and you went to school your whole life for rocket science and you're making a ton of money and you want to go be a bird watcher, you might have to sacrifice your lifestyle. But short of that, you could probably make a similar amount of money and enjoy it a heck of a lot more.
Are we talking about consistency here? Get back to consistency. What drives?
Well, they said motivation.
And motivation, and it's gone.
I think it's enjoyment of what you do. I think if I was hiring you to, go work the back of a mozzarella stick food truck every day, you might lose some motivation after a couple of days.
Yeah, probably so. Yeah, I agree with that. Well, I mean, I'm here to tell you that the motivation is going to come and go. It's never going to be there all the time, and it's never going to be gone all the time. I personally think that there has to be something that is greater than what you have accomplished or trying to accomplish that you see out in front of you, right? Like if there's nothing out in front of you based off the actions that you're taking every day at work, like working at a mozzarella stick stand, you're only going to get so far. That is
It's on wheels.
Yes, truck, whatever. I'm not going to talk about what you need. I need something that's out in front of me, a reason why I'm getting up every day. And then also I'm no longer burning the candle at both ends because I think that I can go further for longer. And I think that's more important than just grinding it out for an entire week and then getting fed up and being like, oh, it didn't work. And also not caring how long it takes. Because there is no, once you reach the goal, I promise you, there's going to be another goal. like whatever it is. Like you hear this from founders who exit their companies for $500 million. They're like, I was more depressed after I sold the company because that's what they were hoping for. And then they met it, they did it, and they're still the same person that needs the goals and the progress, is all these things to make you happy every day. So if it takes you 12 months to launch your business, but you work on it twice a week, every week, and then you finally do it, that's more important than bumming yourself out because you didn't make it work in a month, which I think people do.
For sure. We're going to go through that. We openly talk about we want to have $100 million real estate fund. We don't necessarily, and maybe this is wrong, but we don't have a time. Oh, we got to hit it by this date, or when we do it, we're going to do X. We're gonna do it at some point, hopefully as soon as possible, and then we're probably just going to want to say 200 million or a billion or whatever. I have that in my personal life. I've always really strived for in my personal life. I picture this really great house, not necessarily a big house, but a great house with a big yard and a bunch of my kids running around and playing and, jumping in the pool and things like that I don't have right now. I'm going to get that, like probably sooner than later, within the next 3 to 5 years. And then I have no idea what my personal goal is going to be like after that. But I like the mozzarella stick truck is going to get pinned right to the top of the list. Sammy's Sticks on wheels. Maybe I'll just stick with Sammy's Sticks. It has a better ring. So Sammy's Sticks, Sammy's Mozzie Sticks. T-shirts and hats now available at the Scott and Sam store. If you're still listening now,
matzo balls, matzo sticks
on Easter weekend on Passover of all weekends. We have matzo.
You guys celebrate.
The menu is actually exclusively mozzarella, mozzie sticks, matzo balls, and that's it. Now I got to think of the name around mozz. All right. Anyway, if you're still listening at this point, we love you to our moms. Everyone else, if you're still listening at this point, you're out of your mind. But thank you so much for listening. Episode 3, continue to shoot us DMs. Next time you listen to us, we're going to have 5,000 followers. Who would have thought?
Shout out to a broker who brought us a deal, which I'm going to go close on in 50 minutes. First deal that someone brought us on Instagram, and we're super excited about it. If you have deals, doesn't matter, single families, land, multifamily, strip centers, whatever you got, send them over because we are looking to buy. So shout out.
If someone's still listening to the podcast at this point and brings us a deal, I'll put up the money for the down payment. That's the bet I'm willing to make.
Bring something expensive.
Yeah. You're going to send a deal in.
Yeah. $3 million. All right. See you later.